journey into interior design is inspiring, which it is. I love that story you shared. How does your background in dietetics and corporate diversity shape the way you approach design today?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the struggles often for creative entrepreneurs is they lack, in many cases, that business acumen. And while I was never passionate about nutrition as much as my counterparts were, I did pick up a lot of knowledge around how to operate a business that I brought to the table here. And I don't think it's coincidence that my clients and the clients that I attract tend to be people who work in the space that I left. So really corporate, busy bosses. I speak their language. I'm a PowerPoint girl. I'm the process girl. Like we are going to show up if we say they're going to be there at 9. Our finger is on the doorbell at 9. Like so all of those things really help me to, run a business that's not only creative and fulfilling, but also profitable and structured. And I just kind of a color inside the line creative. And I think that's all framed not just by who I am by nature, but also the experience that I had as a dietitian, which is a science and very, finite. And so I'm kind of had that conditioning, like what's the right answer. Yeah, I know there might be multiple answers, but I need to get the right answer. And so I definitely bring that to the table, and I think that's all shaped by my career,
Awesome.
my first career.
Now, I know that you have spoken in the past a lot about storytelling through your design. Can you share a project where a client's personal story truly shaped the space you were able to create for them?
Yeah, because I think I built my business on social primarily. A lot of my clients come to the table seeking what I'm putting out there. And so there's often not that vetting process because it's taking place behind the scenes before they knock on our door. And so that makes things a lot easier, obviously, because you're already serving what it is they want. But in some cases, that's not 100% the case. And so I had a client a couple of years ago, probably during COVID, that had a really vast collection of global artifacts and art, and really wanted those things to take center stage in her project. We actually love what happens, because more oftentimes than not, it's us trying to pull out of our clients, who are you? What do you like? Tell me more. But when they come to the table with the clearly defined, like, these are the things that are important to me, this is what I want my home to feel like, allows us to be able to help them tell their story.
Awesome. So your Southern roots clearly influence your aesthetic. How do you incorporate traditional Southern design elements while keeping spaces fresh and modern?
The Southern home is all about heritage and history and legacy, and it doesn't matter your culture or your upbringing or how much you had, or have. I think there is just this notion that comes with the Southern home, that home is important to us and sharing it is important to us. And so we're always looking for ways to make spaces more welcoming and accommodating and cozy. And I think that you can do that in a variety of different ways. It's less about style and more about how the home is appointed, and the pieces that are included not being um, trendy or meaningless. And so we try and pull that in. Sometimes we have to add it, frankly. Not everybody has grandma's chest or or artwork that means something to them, but we try and help our clients find those things to help them tell their story if they don't have them already. And I think that just creates a home that makes people want to linger, that makes you more apt to send out that invite to have people over, to feel more relaxed when they're there, because your home speaks to who you are and was designed to make people comfortable.
So, Dwell by Cheryl has been praised for its ability to create life-friendly homes. What does that term mean to you, and how do you balance beauty with function in your design?
I definitely would say I'm a function first designer. Like that is the ultimate goal. I mean, obviously it's going to be pretty. Like that I'm in the business of beauty. That is a given. I think the challenge is how do you make this function for the people who live here? And that function is not a canned thing. It's specific to the people who live home. Like do you entertain? Like, are you a bath taker? Like, do you cook, or is this kitchen for show? Like, do you need a formal dining room? Or are you much more likely to spend, your entertaining time outdoors? Like all of those things help to create a home that is both beautiful and functional. And I think we're always going to check the beautiful box. That is why I'm being hired. I'm more concerned about making sure that the function works. And when I say works, I mean really works. I want people's homes to feel like a hug, like they are supported by it. When they put the key in the back door or type in the code to get in, there is a sigh that happens. And I think that is the ultimate compliment, that your home feels good, like you feel like you want to be there. And no matter how fabulous of a place you're leaving, you always long to come back because it's just that good. And that's something that's really important to me.
Um, so, you talked about this a little bit, but you transitioned from a successful corporate career to following your creative passion. What was the biggest challenge in making that leap, and what advice would you have for others considering a similar path?
Yeah, obviously there is this thought that when you've got a quote unquote steady job, especially a corporate one where you've got tenure benefits and stock bonus and longevity there's this perception of security. And probably the hardest part was leaving that perceived security. Now we know that we're in a time right now where that security is not necessarily a given, and I tend to think it never was. But there is something about some sort of comfort you take in getting a direct deposit on a regular basis that you just don't have in the entrepreneurial world. So, in leaving that, I wanted to make sure that I was well prepared and positioned for success. I mentioned that I had a 36 exit strategy. I literally called it Project 36. It was my 36 months to get ready to make that leap. And I really think that is what helped me to be able to make it with complete peace and to feel good about it and to not have that anxiety and nervousness about transitioning from my quote unquote security to this, wild world of entrepreneurship. And so that preparation helped me get there. It involved things like, hiring a financial planner, letting her know, hey, I want to leave my job in 36 months. And she was like, okay, let's go. We need to pay off this, we need to stash this away. And so that really helped me to have a sense of peace around, I'm ready for this, I can do this. That involved leveling up some processes and marketing. It just, it was a time that I was able to fully prepare for what was ahead. And I think it was probably the smartest thing I ever did.
Now, just kind of follow up, had you ever met anyone who had kind of jumped roles like that, who had taken a plan like this? Or, like you had mentioned earlier, was it really just that strong corporate background that helped kind of for you personally just to put this timeline in place as opposed to just jumping and seeing what happens, so to speak?
Yeah, I can't say that anybody provided me with a blueprint. I wish, at this point, and this was kind of it wasn't pre social media, but it was definitely pre businesses and entrepreneurs using social media to promote anything. And so you didn't have the benefit of knowing other people that had achieved what you were setting out to achieve. So I had to kind of look inward, and I really felt called to this. I felt like I'm a woman of faith, and so I felt like I was really being led in this direction, and to stay beyond the time frame that I had set to exit was kind of disobedient, and like I was going to be missing something. Um, and so I really looked inward and did everything that I could do to set myself up success, but knowing all the while that that wasn't guaranteed. But all the signs were pointing in that direction. You know, I had a solid business. I had leveled up my processes. I had a great portfolio that I had built. I had a waiting list. Um, I had money stashed away to make it, for as long as I could without any clients coming in. So I felt like I had checked a number of boxes that made me feel like this is worth the leap. And worst case scenario, I'm still a registered dietitian with 15 years of corporate experience. I could, bounce back if I needed to.
That makes sense. Now, your designs blend classic, colorful, and cultured elements. How do you strike the right balance between these three elements to make a space feel timeless?
I think the through line for our work is classic, colorful, cultured, and cozy. And it really just depends on the client, the degree to which we use those elements. So some of my clients are a little bit more modern. So we might back off of the classic elements. Some of them really want their homes to reflect their culture. And so we might bump up the cultured elements in the space. I think the client really dictates how much of those we layer in, but typically 9 times out of 10, you will see those elements woven throughout our work. It's kind of the signature. You're likely not coming to me for ultra modern minimalist white space. It's just not what I'm serving up.
Um, so you've collaborated with major brands on product design. How does creating home furnishings compare to designing full interiors? And how do you establish relationships with manufacturers like that?
I love this question, actually. I love product design. It was something that was not on my bingo card. Again, I started this in 2012 when the only licensees in the design space were icons in the industry or TV personalities. There was not this democratization of design happening just yet. There wasn't Instagram, with a steady feed of beautifully designed spaces at every level. And so to license a product was never in my in my 5-year, 10-year plan. I kind of stumbled upon it because, as social media and people's access to design became more prevalent, the whole influencer element became a thing, and brands and businesses started to take note. And I am one who really built my business in the digital space and shared a lot of who I am, not just as a designer, but as a person. And that just happened to not only resonate with clients and followers, but also businesses and brands. And so I found them reaching out to me saying, "We love what you're doing. We love that you use our product. We love that you have similar values to us, and we'd love to partner with you in some capacity." And so that is exactly how all three product lines that I have came to be, because I shared online um, who I am, what I believe in, what my values are, how I feel about home. And oh, by the way, I'm also a really big fan of this particular brand. And so it was very much organic, but I love the opportunity because it gives me a chance to do something different creatively, gives me an opportunity to fill gaps that I have in the space, while also helping other designers fill gaps. And to be a champion and an advocate and an ambassador for the brands that I love the most.
And it sounds like it was such a natural process for you. I feel like sometimes you watch social and it seems very pushed or forced. Do you just kind of talk to a little bit about maybe the importance of that natural piece of it for you, as opposed to someone just like maybe putting a brand in your face and being like, "Hey, you need to push this now."
Okay, I love this question too, because this is core to who I am. Um, I came to this. I walked out of those corporate doors at age 40, and I had a very good sense of who I was. Frankly, I always have, but at 40, you kind of know, like, this is me, this is what I'm doing. No, I'm not going back. Like, I'm passionate about this, and or come hell or high water, I'm gonna try and make this happen. And so that sense of self really keeps me grounded, and it keeps me with the notion that what's important, keep the main thing. And so for me, the main thing is design. I love creating homes for people. Like, I love home, and I want everyone to have that same feeling about theirs. And that allows me to keep my eye on the prize when other opportunities come. And so I never have to find myself chasing after opportunities, because I left my corporate career because I wanted to design homes, not because I wanted to design products or be on the cover of magazines or to be in show houses. While I've done all of those things, they were never the main thing. And so I never felt like I needed to chase them or push myself or put myself in a position to maneuver to make these things happen. I just kept the main thing. And then I started to attract opportunities. And I really like it. That helps me to know that I'm on the right track, because sometimes you can chase things that are not for you. And I'd rather not make that mistake. So I just go about doing what I'm supposed to be doing, what I feel like I've been called to do, and let God take care of the rest.
Now, you mentioned some of those opportunities, as an award-winning designer featured in national publications. What has maybe been the most surreal moment in your career as a designer so far?
I would have to say it's around the product licensing. Um, I've had three collections, and was a collaboration with Wildwood Lighting. Um, I think the most surreal moment was probably the launch of that product at High Point Market, because not so many years prior, I recall walking into that showroom for the first time and looking around in awe at all the beautiful product and thinking to myself, one day I'm going to specify these lamps and these chandeliers for my clients. And that was a goal, that was just out there. Like, that was what I thought as I was walking through. It was aspirational at that point. So to walk up to the showroom and see my name in vinyl on the window of that same showroom was pretty surreal. It's still surreal. I just got back from High Point 2 days ago, and to walk around the showroom and see my product in their collection, just sitting there like it belongs, is still kind of crazy. But I think to go from that designer or aspiring designer who was taking her PTO from her corporate job to go to High Point Market on the weekend, or leave early on Friday, and go there and walk around and just ooh and ah and drool over product, and then to see your name on the window of that same showroom, yeah, it's surreal.
Now, so you describe yourself as an extroverted homebody.
Mhm.
How does that duality influence the way you create spaces for both entertaining and relaxation?
Um, yeah, I'm most likely to host a house party in my friend group. I like people. I like being around people. I'm not shy. I like the mic, but I also love home. And so um, I'm less of a formal entertainer. I love a theme. I'm always hosting something that requires people to dress up or bring, something special. I think my most recent event was for Galentine's, where we had a bouquet, floral workshop, and it was super casual, but it was so much fun. And I think I want a home that feels, you know, well appointed and beautiful, but also not super precious, and that we can flow from indoors to out and to be comfortable, because that's how I live. um and that totally ties into the fact that I like to relax at home as well. I think one of the things that I've learned since becoming a designer is the value of really investing in your home. um Obviously had an appreciation for making things beautiful, but I think I've learned from my clients the value of really investing in the things that you want or need to support you at home. It's something that I have seen transition in me since I started. I have a night routine, and I recently renovated my master bathroom, and it took years to get to it. And for a long time, I tried to put lipstick on it until finally I just, bit the bullet, and I'm like, what am I waiting on? I'm literally the ambassador for getting what you want, crying once and doing it right the first time. And so I took a dose of my own medicine and really have now a space that I use every day. It makes me happy every day, and just makes me even more of an advocate for doing those things for yourself.
And kind of being able to invest in those spaces that feel like home for you. I imagine that also down the road, that 5, 10, even 20 years, you're not redoing things. I feel like sometimes people want to just renovate a space over and over, but it sounds like if you're kind of able to do that on the front end, you're not doing that later on. You're just still as comfortable with your home 20 years from now as you are today.
Yeah, I certainly believe that. I don't know that everybody would agree with me. I'm not one of those people that changes things a lot. I like what I like, and I'm not swayed by what's trending. And I don't care if a color is not cool right now. And so I think in doing that and really being true to myself, and the things that I like, want, and need, um, you're right. It definitely creates a longevity. And you're not chasing around the next greatest thing. Yeah.
And kind of standing by your values and what you appreciate about a space and that design, does that, I mean, even more so help you kind of stand out as a designer in your space because you're sticking to what you think is best for your design and not pulling in the hundreds and thousands of talking heads about this is the color we should use or this is the fabric we should use.
Yeah, and it's definitely something we encourage our clients to do. Like, I think that's why in the beginning, when we're working with someone, we really try and tap into who they are. Now, a lot of people have a hard time verbalizing that. Like, they may not know exactly what their style is, but there are often clues that we can pick up on, um, that help us to get in their head and to tap into to the things that they'll love for years to come. And I just think that's so important versus me saying, hey, look, I found this new thing and you should get it. Because, I really, now you need to know what the new things are, because they might communicate something that you're like, I know exactly what it is. I just saw this new thing. But that's very different in my mind than trying to push something on a client because you just want to use it, or because it's the trendy or the cool hot new thing. Always trying to make sure that we're delivering what the client wants based on who they are and how they live. And that may or may not align to what I want and how I live and who I am.
What is next for Dwell by Cheryl? Are there any dream projects, collaborations, or goals on the horizon that you're excited about? I feel like you have like a 12-month plan, a 5-year plan, and a 10-year plan.
That is so funny because I do not.
Oh,
I'm not, and I don't at all. I do have some things I want to accomplish, but I'm not the person who outlines it all. I have found that the biggest blessings in my life have been surprises, and the things that I couldn't have predicted on a 5 year, 10 year, 12 year plan if I wanted to. And so I like to leave room for that. Um, Now, that said, obviously, I want to do a good job. I want to continue to elevate the work that I do. I want the scale of it to become larger. I want to learn new things. I would love additional product collaborations. I'm doing some strategic things to make all of those things a possibility. Maybe not a certainty, but a strong possibility. That said, I don't say by 2027 I want to do such and such, because sometimes you need the light on the next step to know what the next move is. And it's just hard to predict. So I say let's focus on the here and now, and let's take this next step before we think about the one 10 steps down the line. That is just me. However, I do have some personal goals that somewhat relate to my business. I have, since I left corporate America 12 years ago, I have always wanted a second home in the mountains. I'm from coastal Mississippi, so I grew up on the beach, and it's just not a novelty to me, and it's really not my jam. So what I really love is the mountains. I love the cool, crisp air. It feels like time just stands still there. I have always had this dream of, clocking out on Friday afternoon and heading to a retreat. Over the course of my career as a designer, we've done several mountain homes. I'm always jealous when we finish. And so I've made it a goal. Fingers crossed, to make that happen by 50. And the clock is ticking. So I'm putting that out there, and that is a goal, a personal goal of mine. And it totally relates to home, which tracks because I love them. So
do you
so
have
why
any
not have a second one?
specific area that you're interested in? Or, I mean, because you live pretty close to the mountains. So it wouldn't be too far of a
I
trek
do.
for
I
you. So I
do.
didn't know
So
if it was
yes.
nearby or if you
Yes,
were looking.
I have a couple of, mhm. I have a couple of areas that I'm interested in. Originally I thought, my access, because I've obviously vacationed there quite a bit. My access point was one popular area in North Carolina, which is only about 2 hours from me. But I've recently expanded that search in multiple directions. I think I just need to be close enough to be able to get there after a work day on a Friday, and to get home at a reasonable time after the NFL game, um, in time for Sunday evening. So in my mind, that's 2.5 hours, and I'm open to going in any direction. My most recent search has me looking in Virginia. So who knows?
I meant to ask this at the beginning, but talk to me a little bit about the name Dwell by Cheryl. Where I didn't know if people how often they look at that and they're like, What is that?" Or if they are able to catch on pretty quick. I didn't know where that came from.
Yeah, so it was because I was a blogger, and I wanted something that had my name in it, but I didn't necessarily want my last name in it. And so, I toyed around with different things in the blogging space that had Cheryl in it. And so my older sister, actually, we were, playing with words, and she was like, "What about dwell?" And I was like, "Oh, I like that word. It's, I'm a Christian, and dwell is a word you see in the Bible a lot. I really came to this as a, calling, and that my faith was a large part of the leap that I made, transition that I made from one career to another. And I really was like, I kind of like that. Dwell and Cheryl sound really nice together. At first we were thinking maybe Dwell with Cheryl. And I was like, no, that sounds like people are living with me. And like, I don't like, no, 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 no. So I'm like, well, what about, buy? And so that's kind of where we landed. And then that was the title of the blog. And when I started the business, it just became Dwell by Cheryl Interiors. And I think the word dwell kind of it speaks to the philosophy that I have around home. A dwelling to me is some place that you stay, where you find safety and solace, and kind of where you want to linger. So yeah, it just, I don't know, stuck.
Well, it's funny
And I don't
whenever
think it's worth changing.
it's funny whenever you mention that you have strong faith. For me, it automatically. I was like, oh, okay, dwell makes sense. But that's why I was like, I had better ask her though, just in case, because I feel like there may be some connection there. So I actually guessed right.
Yeah, I try and stay away from it when I'm doing product licensing, just
Yeah.
because there's a lot of big brands that have Dwell, like there's Dwell Magazine and Dwell
Yeah.
Studio, and so just to avoid any of that, we just slap Cheryl Luckett on things. But I feel like it's those things that really matter a lot less in the marketplace than people think. Um, brand colors and logo. Like my clients probably, even I'm talking repeat clients, probably couldn't tell you what my logo looks like. I mean, yeah, you use, but it's just not, the proof is in the pudding. So we try and share the pudding a lot.
Thank you so
I
much for your
appreciate it.
time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.